Chapter 13. Breaking and Entering. As they exit the armory, the lights in the small corridor between it and the airlock dim, then go out. Will looks at the ceiling. Hey Gabe, did you power down the reactor? Maxim and Zephyr both look at Will as the red automatic emergency lighting activates. I did not. Someone has infiltrated our systems. They are all shutting down. Without a word, Zephyr is moving. She has her hands around Cynthia's throat before anyone, including Cynthia, can react. She moves to headbutt the Tigran woman, only to slam her faceplate into Cynthia's own faceplate. From the ceiling, Bennie announces, "Everything is shutting down. I'm trying to counter, but I don't know where it's coming from." Cynthia breaks Zephyr's hold and jumps against the wall to get up and over the stunned ex-peacekeeper. Using her tail as a counterbalance, Cynthia lands on the balls of her feet and swiftly launches into a spinning kick to Zephyr's midsection. Zephyr's training takes over and she grapples the leg as it connects with her side, causing her to exhale loudly. She lashes out with a savage jab right to her opponent's chest, followed by an equally brutal, full-powered kick to the same place the punch just landed. Cynthia's armored form flies backward and collides with Will and Maxim. Maxim immediately drops to one knee and pins the already wriggling woman to the ground. "Whoa, whoa, whoa," Will says, arms outstretched to try to hold the charging Zephyr back. The small corridor that circles the bridge and armory and connects to the port and starboard airlock has never felt so cramped. Zephyr roars, "She betrayed us! Stop thinking with your Lopar!" Will takes a second to process what Zephyr just said. "Wait, what? No!" He motions to Zephyr to stand down. "I mean, yeah, she probably did betray—" "I didn't!" Cynthia stops as Zephyr growls and takes a step forward. She reaches up to remove her armored helmet. "I swear it!" Will shakes his head. "She's worth more alive than dead." He looks down at the feline-featured woman at his feet. "Probably." When she looks up at him, he looks away. Standing, adjusting the borrowed armor, Cynthia says again, "I didn't betray you." She holds a hand up as Zephyr once again growls and leans forward. "However, my orders were to subdue you if ordered. There's a canister of nitrazine tied to the main air exchanger." Will glances at the ceiling. "Gabe?" "I'm on my way," the droid replies from wherever he is in the ship. Cynthia reaches into her jumpsuit leg pocket, slowly removing a small remote. She hands it to Will. "Lorath or Xarrix must have done something to the ship. I was to use this, but I'm guessing Xarrix or Lorath realized I betrayed their confidence." "When?" Maxim asks. Will shrugs. "Neither has been aboard during this mission and son of a bitch." He turns to Bennie. "Scour the main computer. I'm guessing a subroutine that's never run just executed." Everyone watches Bennie for a minute or two. "Well?" Maxim asks. "You're welcome to come over and do this. Wait." The small Braylek pauses, presumably looking intently at his console. "Well, I'll be." Everyone turns and heads immediately for the bridge, Maxim resting one armored and powerful hand on Cynthia's shoulder. The bridge hatch opens and Gabe walks in, holding a canister that looks to Will a lot like a pony keg from the old liquor store in Denver he'd visit in college. "I have successfully disconnected the nitrazine." Setting the canister down next to the hatch, Gabe approaches Bennie. "Can I be of assistance?" Will glares at Bennie. "Jesus, dude. You're supposed to be our hacker. How did you miss that? It's had to have been a part of the computer since before you came aboard with them." He hitches a thumb over his shoulder toward Maxim. "Xarrix hasn't had access to the Ghost since he'd helped me outfit it for my trip home." "He's nothing if not patient," Cynthia offers. "He likely had his people install the subroutine and bury it then, waiting for just the right time." "The data stick," Zephyr says, turning her ire back to Cynthia, still firmly in Maxim's grasp. "Damn, you're right. There was probably code on that stick that activated the sleeper code Xarrix implanted. Then it was simple enough to send a signal." Will looks around the room before casting his gaze on Cynthia. "I thought we had something." Before anyone can reply, there's a loud thunk against the hull, followed by another. "I believe we are being boarded," Gabe offers. Will grabs his pistol from the holster on his thigh. "Good thing we're already dressed." He places his helmet back on his head and secures the seals. He points at Cynthia. "Wait here." Then he points at Bennie. Keep an eye on her. Bennie squeaks. Me? Well, that went well. This is embarrassing, Will says, sitting on the narrow bench of the Ghost's brig. I didn't know we had a brig, Maxim offers. Zephyr, who's lying against him on the floor, chuckles mirthlessly. I mean, really embarrassing, Will continues. Sure, we're not some type of crack commando squad. He looks over at Maxim and Zephyr. Well, not all of us, but still. It's like we were rank amateurs, like we weren't even prepared. Bennie, who's leaning against Cynthia in the opposite corner, offers. If it helps, they clearly had that planned. He gestures beyond the cell, where Gabe is standing in the corner, his eyes dark. It takes more than a simple EMP to shut him down, especially that new body of his. Xarrix has clearly been monitoring us for some time, Zephyr says. That pulse shut down our armor like nothing. Will's armor isn't even Peacekeeper, and it didn't fare any better. That was far too specific to be anything but pre-planned. Before anyone can look at her or say anything, Cynthia offers. I had nothing to do with it. The nitrazine was my play, nothing else. So what now? Maxim asks. I assume you have some override or something? It's your ship after all. Will gestures around. Notice the lights? Still on backup power. The lighting in the small room is the same faint red of the emergency lights. The doors open and Lorath enters. She glares at Gabe's inert form in the corner, then continues toward the cell. You need a larger brig, she says. Her smile has no friendliness to it. It'll be just right when it's you in here, Will says, standing and walking over to the door. What's going on? What are you and Xarrix up to? He looks her in the eye. What are you doing with these creatures? What are you going to do with my ship, my crew? She turns to Cynthia, ignoring Will. I'm disappointed in you. After all we've been through, you choose. She gestures to Will. That? Bennie chuckles as Will starts to turn red. Excuse me? Still looking directly at her former lieutenant, Lorath continues. You've worked for me for cycles. You were, third in command of Xarrix's entire operation. You had more power than many government officials. Again she glares at Will. He can't be that good. As Will starts to smile, Cynthia answers. He's not, but he is noble. It's been a long time since I've met someone like him. Like them. She gestures to everyone in the cell. How's that working out so far? Lorath scoffs. With that, she turns and leaves the room. We're almost halfway done. Can you keep things under control over there? Xarrix asks from the main display on the Ghost Bridge. They're in the brig. The droid is offline. It shouldn't be a problem. Lorath is sitting in Will's command chair, surrounded by 4 of Follick's Soul's crew, on loan from the Butcher. The Trinball crime lord nods. Very well, then. I'll keep an eye on Soul. You keep the Ghost in position, protecting Salvage Team A. Now that the salvagers are familiar with the neurology of the vessels, the acquisition will go quicker. Xarrix, did you know these vessels, these creatures, were in fact living things? Does it matter? Lorath tuts. You know better than that. He smiles. I do, but we've already had one of our best operatives go soft. I had to be sure that number hadn't grown to 3. As if. She reaches over and closes the channel. Looking around at her loner bridge crew, she says, Well, let's go protect those salvagers. She picks up the small blue figurine of Kel and turns it over in one hand, looking at it appraisingly. Junk, she mumbles, sitting back down at the console. One of her borrowed crew looks over from the sensor station. Do we get to steal their stuff when we're done? Of course. Everything on this ship will be fair game, once we've disposed of its previous occupants. The scales along Lorath's neck shift color, as she imagines putting a pulse pistol to Will's head. Bustin' out. Captain, please wake up, Captain. There's a small zapping sound. Sweet boneless Jesus, Will hisses, waking from his sleep and rubbing his butt cheek. What's going on, Bennie? Was that you? The groggy Braylac opens one eye and sees Will rubbing the wound. What? Like, did I bite your butt? No, I didn't bite your butt, Krebnak. He rolls over.
It was me.
Two small yellow circles are staring at Will and the crew from beyond the bars of the cell.
Gabe?
Zephyr says, waking.
Affirmative.
Maxim sits up. I thought you were offline.
While the energy pulse was certainly powerful, it was insufficient to incapacitate me.
It's been a day, Will says, getting to his feet as the droid approaches the door to the cell.
Despite this new body, I am still an engineer, not a warrior. I decided to wait and see what Loreth and her associates did before acting.
You could have let us know, Will insists. The bot shrugs, then grabs the lock and crushes it in one hand.
Okay, now what?
Cynthia asks.
Well, for one, we leave your ass here, and Gabe bends the doors or something to keep you contained.
Zephyr all but snarls. Before Cynthia can reply, Will holds up both hands. Ladies, I get it, you hate each other. It's time to either get over it or at least set it aside. Cynthia has proven she's with us on this. She's on our side, Z. Zephyr straightens, mulls over what Will said, then extends her hand to the feline ex-criminal secretary.
Okay, he's right. Truce?
Cynthia grasps Zephyr's forearm.
Truce.
She looks around.
Now, let's go make Lorath regret locking us up.
Her grin makes Will shudder. Will looks up at Gabe. You still connected to the ship's computer? A shake of the head.
Negative. They have disabled the wireless network.
Smart, Bennie says. Lorath doesn't need it, and she probably assumed that if we got free, we'd use it. Cynthia looks down at Bennie.
Don't underestimate her. She survived a long time before joining Xarrix. That's not easy, and even less so for a woman. She's ruthless.
Will shudders, remembering his first meeting with Lorath, shortly after the crew stole the crate with Gabe in it for Xarrix. He'd sent his new team off on shopping errands, while he delivered the news that he would not, in fact, be providing the droid to Xarrix, or his proxy, Lorath. Yeah, she is. Zephyr eyes the hatch leading out of the brig.
Okay, so what's the plan?
I think I have an idea, Will says, smiling. Just then, the ghost lurches, then tilts wildly.
They're a kilometer long. It shouldn't be that hard to hit them.
Lorath is shouting at the lanky Sylvan occupying the weapons station. Its wood-like limbs are moving over the controls.
This console is a mess.
It rattles in its rustling leaves-like voice.
Who configured it? A peacekeeper, hold on,
she shouts, banking the ghost hard over to avoid an almost head-on collision with one of the smaller behemoths. She glances at a Trinball sitting at the sensor station, younger than Xarrix, a cousin if she recalls.
What's happening? Can you reach the salvage team? I'm working on it.
The rattled reptilian replies, then at the expression on Lorath's face adds, Ma'am. A moment later, he says,
I have Captain Gubb of the Hufflo.
The overhead speaker beeps. We're evacuating this one. There seems to be some type of defense mechanism. Arr! Watch out. Nope. Damn it.
What's going on over there, Captain?
Lorath shouts, watching the screen as the behemoth that's been attacking them veers off and collides with another.
Captain Gubb?
The comms link is silent. Just as she turns to ask if they're still connected, it bursts into life again. We're aboard the Hufflo. You have to destroy this thing. On the screen, the Hufflo and two other salvage vessels detach from the wild behemoth and jet away on different flight paths, engines flaring brightly at maximum thrust. One vessel isn't fast enough, shattering like glass against the thick space being's hide.
Target that thing,
Lorath orders the Sylvan weapons officer.
Fire everything we have.
A moment later, she can see several missiles appear at the bottom of the screen, arcing toward the behemoth that is now turning back on to an intercept course with them. The first missiles impact against the armor-like outer skin, showing little sign of serious damage. Then the third missile strikes, and in a blinding flash breaks the rogue living ship in half.
What the Grolak was that?
She asks, turning to the Sylvan.
They have XPX 1900s.
The wood-like alien says, possibly grinning. Lorath finds it hard to tell.
Well, they did.
Pressing a button, she says,
Captain Gubb, the rogue vessel is destroyed. What happened?
Good to hear, thank you. One of my assistants cut the wrong fiber. Whatever it was, it almost immediately caused the creature to reactivate. We tried severing the connections like normal, but it activated internal defenses. Small creatures came out of nowhere, violent little yellow things with blasters and other weapons attached to them, hundreds at once.
Good to know. I'll make sure to pass your experience along to the other teams. Make sure your people are careful. Jarella won't like that we've had to destroy one of her prizes.
She's about to cut the connection, then adds,
Oh, and document which fiber your assistant cut so we can share that with the rest of the salvagers.